If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine. And maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them. From disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger. Because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine. And maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them. From disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Live at lunch.
You are looking live.
Live at lunch. Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
What the hell's going on out here?
Now, here's Jimmy Ott and Charles Hannegriff.
For some reason or another, you sound a little taller on radio.
Is it live? Is it live? Is it live?
From Mike Anderson Seafood, Wesley at Nicholson. Welcome to the Tuesday edition of Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Charles Hannegriff along with Jimmy Ott. Jordan Kitchen's back in the studio. Andy Isco with us a little bit later on this hour. We do first class, second class, no class on Tuesdays. We're at Mike Anderson's where the weather is fantastic. Jimmy, how you doing?
I do good, man.
Yeah.
Good to be back in town and just the little bit more rested than yesterday. And
I was going to say,
the oysters look really good as Mike's shucking up in front of us. So here in the bar area, of course, it's always oyster night to Tuesday evening, 5 to 9 p.m. And, talking to Shane also, man, got a little bit of an influx of we're always busy, but, a little spike of the bowling.
Yeah, the bowler's going to be here till the middle of the summer, so that's going to continue.
They got to eat somewhere.
That's
right.
So,
no, but this is, I would figure this would be right at the top of their list, man. So always fun to come over here to Mike Anderson's on alternating Tuesdays.
The NCAA basketball tournaments, both the men's and the women's, now into the round of 16, with decidedly few upsets having gone down in the first couple of games. We'll get to that in a second, but we'll start with LSU's win yesterday against Florida State. A very high-scoring Florida State team that came in averaging just under 88 points a game, so you knew these two teams were going to get up and down. The leading scorer in the country, Tania Latson for Florida State, averaged 30 points a game. Got 30 points yesterday. So, averaged 25 points a game, and she scored 30 points yesterday. So, you knew these teams were going to get up and down. It was 50-49 at the half, and LSU had no problem keeping up with Florida State offensively, but what they did have a problem with was foul trouble in the first half. And Flau'jae Johnson and Michaela Williams both sat for significant minutes in the second quarter. Anissa Morrow showing no signs of the injury that sidelined her in the SEC tournament over these first two games, really kind of picked up the slack while they were out. And then they came back in, and oh my, that third quarter was something to behold. LSU just blitzed Florida State right off the court, 31-6 in the third quarter, and it was a little bit of everything. Obviously, getting those two players back in, Michaela Williams was dominant from the floor last night. She had a great night shooting the basketball. She made all three of LSU's threes, but she was 10 out of 12 from the floor, and those were not all bunnies. I mean, she was knocking down jump shots. Flau'jae Johnson in transition was terrific, but mostly LSU shared the basketball, 29 assists assists on 41 made baskets. And Florida State overplayed a lot, and you can understand why, trying to overplay to Johnson, to Williams, and it opened up some stuff underneath. Samaya Smith had a 9-for-9 shooting night, and I don't know that I think they were all inside of about 12 feet because they were able to feed her the basketball when Florida State would overplay. They got the Seminoles to turn the ball over, and what was a close game at the half turned into a complete rout in about 5 minutes. It was really, really impressive to watch. And now LSU has scored over 100 points in both of their NCAA tournament games. The couple things stand out for me. Number one, that two of LSU's 3 stars who came into this tournament coming off of injuries, neither one of them seemed the least bit compromised. The second thing is, and we'll get into a little bit more of the numbers when we do first, second, no class, is LSU coming down the stretch in the regular season was not getting very much out of their bench. In the postseason, that has changed an awful lot. Now, I understand that these 2 games were routes, and it allowed for ample substitutions in the second half, especially in the game against San Diego State. But they've also played some significant minutes with, as I told you earlier, some of the stars in foul trouble. So getting a contribution off the bench from multiple players in the SEC tournament a little bit, and in these 2 games has been a welcome addition for the Tigers. So they go to Spokane to play NC State, a team they have already beaten in the regular season, albeit way back in November. But LSU won that game by a significant margin. The final in that game, I think, was 82-65. They won the game by 17. Now that was let's see the exact date on that. I think was November 27th. So it's been a long time ago, but they have beaten that team before. And then UCLA is the number 1 seed out there in the Spokane region that LSU, the part that LSU was in. That, along with the biggest story in women's college basketball last night, was Juju Watkins, I would say the favorite for National Player of the Year, went down early for number 1 USC against Mississippi State. She tore her ACL. She is out for the season. And, it was sad to see. You could tell right away it was a transition play. It was in no way a malicious play. She got bumped. She went to the ground. Happens all the time. Except she went to the ground awkwardly and tore her ACL. USC went on to win the game very easily, 37 points. But USC was definitely one of those 6 to 8 teams that had a chance to win the national championship. And well, I think they can still advance against Kansas State, winning a national championship without a player of that magnitude is, well, just about impossible.
It's tough. We were a little bit kind of wondering if Cinderella's dead on the men's side because so much chalk held. Well, the women's, it's business as usual, as only no 6 or lower seed makes it to the Sweet 16. So you have a
3-5 seeds were in the women's bracket.
It's a
2
tough
6s
road.
and a 10 in the men.
But
That's
the USC beat UCLA 2 out of 3 times. I mean, it was going to be. I mean, this is this Beckers is these are your stars this year.
Yeah,
and it happens. In torn ACLs happen. She'll be out probably to the first of the year. It's kind of like give or take, depending on how her rehab and everything goes. But she would not be ready, in all likelihood, for the beginning of the season. And so it's Charlie. But looking at the LSU game, I mean, 49 points in the first half, 6 in the third quarter. I mean, that's it. 50-49 at half. 31-6 in the third quarter.
I watched the whole game, and they were getting up and down the court. LSU had a 7-point lead at the end of the first quarter, and then what happened was Flau'jae and Michaela Williams both went out of the game with foul trouble. Mm-hmm. When they sat, Florida State. I would say they were a little bit ahead of LSU, but it kind of played them straight up in that second quarter. Morrow, held the rope there a little bit. When those 2 girls got back in the game. Good night. I mean, we've seen some big runs in college basketball before. That was as good as it gets right there in that third quarter.
31-6. So LSU was about 10.5 point favorite last night. Mm-hmm. So you say, man, they're not. Where are they doing defensively at half? And then they give up 22 points the second half for a team that scores 85-90 a game.
87.4, okay. I think it was. Yeah,
that's so tale of two halves. But at full strength, and it wasn't Flaugier who scored. She scored 13, but collective 74 from Morrow, Smith, and Williams.
Yeah, they did a great job of sharing the basketball with all those assists. Williams had a terrific night shooting the basketball. And a really nice defensive adjustment by Kim Mulkey that paid off. A little bit of a gamble. Latson is a 25-point-a-game shooter. She had 23 points in the first half. She's a 32% three-point shooter away from home. So what they did was, as they were screening for her, LSU was trying to come over the top of it. She was getting inside the three-point line to her spot, and she was making those shots. LSU started going under the screen in the second half, saying, "Shoot the three-pointer. If you make it, fantastic. We'll deal with something else." And she shot 2 of 10 from three-point range. So coaching matters. It was an adjustment that they made at the half, and she scored 7 points in the second half.
Seems like it's LSU's path though is very similar to last year. A tough Sweet 16 matchup, which they had last year against UCLA. Mm-hmm. Was it LSU at 3 last year too?
Yes.
Yeah.
They've been a 3 every year that Mulkey's been here.
NC State, they beat Notre Dame earlier this year. That's all you need to know. How good they are. So that's going to be a tough one. I would think it's right around a pick 'em. Just to
I looked for some reason they did not have a line on the LSU NC State game this morning. So
oh really?
Where I looked, they didn't have it. I don't know if they were holding it for some other reason. I didn't see the UCLA game last night.
2.5 LSU was favored.
Okay.
Yeah. So the closer, but the regional final will be a revenge spot from the previous year. The team the very good team last year. Iowa was the number 1 seed. They had a revenge spot in the regional final against LSU. Yeah. UCLA, number 1 seed, will have a revenge spot against LSU in a regional final if they should advance, if they beat NC State.
What they'll have to deal with is the same.
You give
thing.
them as much credit, as much of a chance as the other number 1 seeds.
Do I give LSU as much of a chance?
It's like a UConn.
Yeah,
South Carolina.
Yeah, right. This is not
as much as South Carolina, huh?
I don't think they're that much worse than South Carolina. I watched that game. South Carolina ended up winning the game by 10. It was a competitive game the whole way in Columbia. I feel the same way about how LSU played against Texas. I watched both of all of those games. LSU lost both of them. But the second game, which was on a neutral floor at the SEC tournament, they played without Flaugier Johnson, and Anissa Morrow went down with that scary-looking injury in the third quarter, and they were not out of the game. Okay, they were not outclassed. Like the year they won the national championship, they were just not going to beat South Carolina. They were just such a bad matchup for them.
Odds makers couldn't disagree with you more. Basically, UConn and South Carolina are co-favorites. UConn plus 160, South Carolina plus 180. And when they went down there, I think it was a Sunday, they just slaughtered them by 30
UConn
or 40.
Did,
they took over as the favorite. But Texas is the number 1 overall seed, right?
Yeah.
Their third choice at 8-1. UCLA is third. Texas fourth choice at 8-1. UCLA. These are odds complement of the Queen and DraftKings outlet. LSU's all the way down to 9th choice at 30-1, and I think that tells you about their path. They're 3 seed.
I think it tells you more about the losing streak at the end of the season when Johnson was out and Morrow was compromised, and I think that they lost a little steam. I think they lost a little public support at that point. But I don't think LSU deserves to be the favorite or anything close to it. I get why they're not the favorite. But you asked me, do I give them a chance? And I said, yes. At full strength right now, I give them a chance.
I asked you to compare them to like South Carolina. And
I don't think that South Carolina outclasses them. South Carolina would be the favorite if they played on a neutral floor. I understand why. They haven't beaten Dawn Staley yet. But I don't feel like LSU is that far. They would have to play great. But I don't feel like if they'd have played them 2 years ago, I said no way they can beat them. There's no way. They were too bad of a matchup problem. I don't feel that way this year. Last year against
Windows
UCLA,
open right down the street.
Last year against UCLA, Lauren Betts is UCLA's best player. She's a 6'7"
big.
center. She averages 20 points a game, 20 points and 10 rebounds a game. Last year against LSU in that regional semifinal, she scored 14 points on 44% shooting. She had 17 rebounds, and LSU won the game by 11 anyway. So they've dealt with her before. She's an excellent player, but there's nothing. There's no team out there that I feel like LSU that I've seen. I haven't really seen. I didn't see USC a whole bunch.
Is LSU as good as they were last year? No Reese. Everybody's pretty much everybody else is back a year older.
Are they as good? Yeah, I think they're as good
About
as they
as good.
were.
I think so.
Yeah. I think Michaela Williams' game is really, really advanced, and Morrow is been terrific since she's been here.
UCLA's probably a little better.
Yes, I would say UCLA is a little bit better than they were a year ago. Betts is a year better. Her numbers this season are a little bit better than they were a year ago. Last year she was averaging 15 points a game. Now she averages 20 points a game. So her career has advanced. I think LSU's got a good shot. They got to play great. They got to play at their absolute best, and their stars have got to play. They got to get a little bit out of their bench.
Good shot to go to the Final Four.
Yeah. I think so. To win it, they'd have to catch a break somewhere. They'd have to play
last year.
over
They could have beat
Iowa.
Iowa.
Yeah, a little bit different. Deal. Look, when they won a national championship, the player come off the bench and hit 6 threes. Okay, Carson. You're gonna have to catch a break somewhere. They're not on paper the best team, but are they capable of winning? Yeah, I think they are.
I think with a 3 seed, because it's so top heavy, they just have a much tougher path than the others. I mean, who's playing NC State, UCLA the next 2 games? That strong.
Oh, I don't know. I mean,
Not the teams that we not UConn, not South Carolina.
TCU is a 2
I
seed.
mean, how does USC change this up? Because obviously Juju without her, they're not as strong.
No, but let me try. TCU, who is a 2 seed, has got to play Notre Dame and Texas to get to the Final Four. That's pretty tough. What you saying?
Yeah, that's tougher.
Okay.
I think Texas might. You think Texas is better than UCLA or about the same?
Texas is deep. That's close. That's really close. I've only seen UCLA a couple of times. I've seen Texas more, so I don't want to do a bias here. North Carolina would have to play Duke and South Carolina. That's pretty tough too. You're right about the Watkins injury changing everything.
Who has to play Texas and Notre Dame?
TCU.
Yeah, well, they're not
They're
not
two
one
seed,
of them.
though.
Yeah, they're not one of them.
They're 2 seed.
Yeah, to a TCU is not going to win them. It's too chalk heavy, man.
Well, I
No
don't
way.
think they're going to beat Notre Dame either. But
TCU.
they are a 2 seed.
They're not going to win it.
I agree with you. They're not going to win it. But you asked me
This
who else
stuff
has
is pretty predictable, Charlie.
You asked me who had the tougher road, and I'd say, well, it's TCU. I would give you that.
They take USC off.
Haley Van Lith.
I'm well aware.
Over there, they've had a great season.
She's a conference player of the year.
But do I
Does
expect
she look
them
like
to?
a conference player of the year level in the SEC?
I don't think it was the SEC as much as it was that she was in a role here that was not suited for her. She's a great player. LSU's a great program. Mulkey's a great coach. When she's got to play on the ball, she's not as good. She was asked to play on the ball here. She was not as good. When she's asked to play off the ball the way she was at Louisville and TCU, she's a much better player. There wasn't a role for her off the ball here. So I don't think it was the SEC. I think it was her role. If she had gone to Ole Miss and played off the ball, I think she'd have been just fine. Or Auburn.
Conference player of the year?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, no, not the SEC player of the year. She'd have
Full
been
of
all
it today,
She'd have been all conference.
You're full of it today.
She'd have been all conference.
No.
Yes, she would have.
No.
Well, okay. We disagree on
Sorry.
if she'd have played off the ball. She'd have played off the ball. She'd have played,
I heard you.
okay.
No.
What's for lunch?
Mike Anderson's, baby. Yes, indeed. It's oyster night over here. It is half-price oysters on the half shell every Tuesday, 5 to 9 p.m. We're doing the char grills. It's blowing and going. Boiled crawfish every day, starting at 5 p.m. On weeknights and all day, all night on the weekends. So don't forget, too, that we close, Monday Monday through Thursday, we take a break between 2 and 5, between the lunch and dinner shifts. And in the weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, no, open all the way through 11 a.m. till 9 or 10 p.m. over here at Mike Anderson's. Come on by, and, man, you could see a lot of the bowlers coming in, say, man, this place is highly recommended. Been doing it for a long, long time over here. Mr. Mike started back a long time ago. So over here on Lee, just off of Nicholson, make sure you tell him you heard us talking about him here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at Mike Anderson's Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at Lunch with Ott and Yanni from Mike Anderson Seafood on Lee Drive on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Remember, you can always get the show on demand, LouisianaSports.net, 1045ESPN.com. Brand new Handycast on LSU baseball. Doug Thompson, Dan Canterbury, and myself. That is up on YouTube right now. The Handycast from yesterday. All right, Jimmy. Let me see. A little quiz time here. You ready?
Yeah. I love quizzes. Come on, Charlie. Back to school.
Sweet 16 in both the men's and the women's. How many colleges have teams in both?
Not many.
I'll tell you how many, and then you see if you can name them. There are 4 teams, colleges that have teams in both the men's and the women's.
Tennessee.
Tennessee, very good. Tennessee. I'm asking for a reason.
BYU. Michigan.
No.
Okay.
Think
LSU. No.
Think
Alabama lost in triple overtime in the girls last night, right?
Yes, like 109, 107, or 111, 109, something. Yeah, very, very competitive game.
Girl got fouled with under a second to go, made all 3.
Uh-huh.
They extended.
Yeah.
I mean, Kentucky?
No.
They're out?
They're out in the ladies.
Okay. Arizona?
And by the way, Kentucky they lost by a point in overtime. That was another.
Maryland. Maryland girls pretty good.
Maryland, yep.
What's that coach's name? She's still there?
No. I don't think this is the one you're thinking of.
Okay.
No.
All right, that's enough. That's my guesses.
You got Maryland and Tennessee. Duke.
That's right.
The last one was the one I really wanted to.
That coach still there too for the women's?
Duke. That's Kara Lawson at Duke.
Kara Lawson?
Yeah, the old
Tennessee.
Yeah, the old Tennessee.
Real? No, that's not the old one.
Brenda Fries has been at Maryland since 2002.
Yeah, that's her.
Okay.
Roscoe used to love her.
Oh, yeah.
She wanted to before, obviously, Bulky came in. But, yeah, he loved Brenda
you know what?
Fries.
I was thinking about somebody else. Ole Miss is the other one.
Yeah.
That's why I asked.
I mean, we're just behind the runs in football, basketball.
Listen, I want to in the last in the last 3 years. Let's think about Ole Miss. Okay, I don't have to go through the football stuff. Okay, the football stuff has been pretty good. Maybe a little bit came up short last year what they expected, but it's been pretty good on the football field. Now you got a men's basketball team and a women's basketball team that are both in the Sweet 16, and you're a couple of years removed from a college baseball national championship. Now the last 2 years for Ole Miss baseball hasn't been nearly as good since they won that title, but. For the Runts, it's a pretty good resume.
I'm not worried about the baseball. LSU has got buku resources. I mean,
they're not better than LSU
that
baseball.
Would not, the LSU baseball would not tolerate running back, a couple, 1, 2, or 3 seasons. You take your pick. It wouldn't get to 3, like the basketball team has performed, right?
Right.
I mean, there's no way you can run that back.
No.
Like they're doing with the basketball.
No, that would not be tolerated in baseball. No.
Okay, so, but is Ole Miss are they just utilizing their SEC rep? Are they getting out sort of the bottom half resources? Are they just climbing the ladder a little bit?
Well, that's what I was in a roundabout way trying to ask you.
Or we just suck, and we're on level with them. We're seeing them eye to eye, or not even in some situations.
Are they ready?
We don't have a basketball coach like they do. We don't have a basketball program like they do.
Are they ready to say we're not the Runts? For good. This is not just new money.
So what's
this
the last,
is sustainable.
The last three. Since Brian Kelly's been here, what's our record? What's their record?
LSU
football conference.
I think it's
pretty
one game.
Close,
There's
huh?
a one-game difference. I think.
So we're seeing them eye to eye.
Yeah.
All right. So is
LSU was what? It was a
picket
game.
Are we
at
both?
Tiger
Are we
Stadium?
sliding? Or are they? But Kelly's overall conference record is near the top.
It was third, I think. Off.
It's not.
Third or
people
fourth.
talk about. They could be upset that they are. They thought he might be able to do a little bit more at a place that the last three coaches won national championships. I can understand that, but being fired and stuff, I don't care what you think. I know you're not married to. He doesn't deserve to be fired. That's not even up for discussion. I mean, that's just there could be a little fan unrest. Okay, I think he's been lazy. All right, in roster development, but in recruiting, but and taking some missteps as well. But as far as his overall, it's not fireable, not even close. Okay, but Kiffin is maxed out at Ole Miss. I've always thought that, but I've got a real problem with LSU being on par with Ole Miss in football and being worse in basketball. I've got I mean, you don't?
In the last 3 years, LSU 17-7 in league play, and Ole Miss is 15-9. It was two game difference.
Ole Miss is second Sweet 16 ever.
Second Sweet 16 ever.
Come on, man.
They decided a while back that they wanted to be good. Okay, and so they started putting some money into it. Built a new basketball arena. They have invested in coaches. I'm wondering if they're not just new money, and if they want to be a real player and they can sustain being a real player. You can compare Ole Miss's football record to LSU's. Then go compare it to Auburn's. There's a traditional power. Okay, that Ole Miss is quite a bit better than right now on the football field. I mean, if you're an LSU fan, you're upset that Ole Miss is that close. How upset are you if you're at Auburn?
Oh, extreme! No. Yes, because LSU and Auburn been.
And Auburn ain't new money.
Been very.
Auburn's old money. But
no,
right now,
this is no. They've been. But how much is that Saban? He sucked a lot of. I mean
he sucked a lot of it out, but
his dominance it has to make it tougher in Auburn.
But they've all been in the same division. I mean, it's not like Saban did it with all Alabama
play
recruits.
Every year.
Yeah, well, they played Ole Miss every year. They played LSU every year. It's not like Saban sucked up all of those Alabama recruits. He sucked up national recruits. So I mean, I'll give you a little bit of the in-state. You're
telling me that Alabama being really good doesn't make it tougher on Auburn? Of course it does.
It does, but
that's not the only reason.
No.
Okay, that's part of it though. And then some of their stuff is self-inflicted with some poor leadership and poor decisions along the way. But here's a case where. They're saying, well, the basketball, we got to give him more money. Well, part of it is you got to have a coach that excites the boosters to give more money. And Kiffin has done that at Ole Miss. Those people sat on their hands forever. And their contribution, everybody's giving more, but theirs is the biggest surprise. You said they had more NIL budget or player budget for football than LSU last year?
That's what Ross Dellinger said. That was in his.
That's bad. I don't mean, okay, but that's what he's hustling way more than Kelly is.
You did see LSU hop to it. You did see them hop to it with this white hot fundraising effort as soon as the football season was over, didn't you?
It was reactionary.
It got their attention.
It took Underwood. The Underwood
Yes.
thing certainly shook them up. There's no doubt.
It got their attention.
This shouldn't have been the case to begin with.
When you get their attention over there, they will spring to like nobody's business. I've seen them do it in women's basketball. I've seen them do it in baseball. I've seen them do it in football. And be damned, they just will not do it in men's basketball. I've seen them do it in beach volleyball, Jimmy.
Yeah.
I've seen them spring to life and go, we're going to be good in this. I've seen them do it in tennis. I've seen them do it in track. Well, they've always been good in track.
Gymnastics.
And they've always been pretty good in gymnastics. They decided they wanted to take that next step, and they did it, and they just will not do it in men's basketball. I
I mean,
Cannot understand
Rabs,
why.
who's been on to beat covering LSU sports longer than anybody currently.
Yeah.
Okay. He said he doesn't know if that LSU could justify putting money into basketball.
I don't.
He said that.
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
I mean, wait, huh? You just said LSU going to get some. They got 7 teams in Sweet 16. They're getting some of that money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they get NCAA units out of it. The league gets NCAA units out of that. One of these days, they'll decide we want to be good in this. Not today.
Well, it ain't next year.
Not today.
Ole Miss success, Jimmy. One word. Mincy.
Oh, shut up, Max. This is stupid. Max, turn your mic off, boy. No, don't forget our friends over at Legacy Title. Chad Reynolds, Legacy Title for all of your real estate closings. 296-0060. Full-service title company servicing all of South Louisiana. Ashley Donald, Mariana Haynes, Adrian Galata, Michael Platt, and Natalie and Bradford Smith. Buying, building, refinancing. Nobody chooses but you. Choose Chad Reynolds, Legacy Title, 296-0060.
Live at Mike Anderson's Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Heading out to Las Vegas, deep in the desert, lives one man. One man of many sports bets. The one and only Andy Isco.
Andy, how's your March Madness going, buddy?
It's been a very interesting tournament. I got some of the few upsets correct, and some of those wrong favorites incorrect.
Yeah, so our buddy Patrick Everson from VegasInsider.com. I mean, and you know, this is something this is a report that Carl Johnson echoed in our stay down at Beau Rivage as well. You know, this is the first 2 days of the tournament. The public is very dog heavy, and because so many favorites won, the house really cleaned up. The public got bruised up, and this is a couple of days where I'm kind of on the public side. I tend to take the dogs. Friday was bloody for the underdogs. There's no doubt about that. But over the weekend, he reported that it turned and they got tired of losing and they started betting the favorites. And then on Sunday, minus the Florida game, where the public got bruised up on that one, Duke and Michigan State and some others, a lot of money line parlays came in, and public grabbed some of the money back on Sunday.
Yeah, what I was going to say about underdogs, if you've noticed over the years, the price on underdogs has come down on average almost across the board as far as I see. You don't see, well, you had one 30-point line with the Auburn game, and I think they did not cover that one. You had maybe 1 or 2 in the 20s, but even the smaller ones, you used to be getting 6 and 7. You're now getting 3.5 and 4s on those. So it's making the underdogs, interestingly enough, less attractive. And I think the public sometimes, when they notice the public starting, because they hear all the hype about the 11s over the 6s and the 12s over the 5s, so they try to find those underdogs, and sometimes they're not priced high enough to take them. And we've seen a number of situations this year, in this tournament, where you've had the favorite win but fail to cover.
You think this is here to stay with the transfer portal and so many players like the kid from Florida being from Iona, the Janai Broom being from Morehead State, Sears from Alabama being from Ohio. I mean, some others. Connect last year coming from the Dakotas. I mean, you got to. It's tough enough to begin with the mid majors. Now it sure looks doubly tough.
Well, what happens, there's sort of like a flow, and I don't have the exact numbers on it. I'm sure someone out there does, and that is if you're not getting time enough to play on a major program, you're a prime candidate to go down and be perhaps the best player on a mid-major, as opposed to a mid-major player who's a star player has a chance to go up to a major program and be not the best player, but better than the player that he's replacing who went down to the mid-major. So you're sort of seeing a little bit more of parity out there because the gap between the mid-majors and the majors is getting less and less because the mid-majors are getting a lot of highly recruited players who, for one reason or another, aren't getting the playing time they desire at the major college level.
Well, the high majors are losing their bench players, and the mid-majors are losing their stars. So, Charlie brought it to my attention. In football, the Sun Belt Conference, they're all conference team. 11 on defense, 11 on offense. Starting 22, all hit the transfer portal. All 22.
Yeah, and then that's it. Because you see, it's different than it was 20 years ago, and certainly more than that, because now every game is available to watch live. You've got tape on every game, so players like in the 1990s who might not have been noticed from the Sun Belt because of a lack of game film and things like that, or widespread distribution of it, now every game is viewed, and so a lot of I won't say questionable, but marginal players as far as making it to the major conference level, they realize, okay, I can go to, let's say, Michigan this year as a freshman or sophomore, or I can go to a Sun Belt conference team. I'll be a second or third string on Michigan. I'll be a starter on the Sun Belt team, and therefore be able to get the exposure that will make me attractive to maybe Michigan for my sophomore or junior year.
Charlie, with Clayton Jr., did Iona offered him to stay? His NIL or his player pay?
I couldn't even hazard a guess.
$1,100
for the year.
Yeah,
that's not a lot.
He gone.
You're not missing 3 zeros on that one, are you?
Is he getting $1,100 a day?
Yes.
Somewhere else.
Yes, he's doing a little bit better in Gainesville. I would believe.
I would transfer just based on the insult of getting that offer.
Well, that was how many years has he been at his second year at Florida?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, and he looks. How did the high majors miss on him too? I mean, he's a good-looking athlete too, man. We know his skill. I mean, it just
you wonder if a lot of these high majors are looking at a player like that and go, he's athletic. He needs a little bit of work to his game. We'll just wait till he goes to Iona or wherever else, develops his game, and then we'll take him. We don't have to, we don't have to wait on the development here.
True, and you probably can develop more. You definitely can play just playing as opposed to, playing starter minutes as opposed to playing reserve minutes.
Remember when teams used to stash guys in junior college when they didn't have grades? They're like, hey, we'll just stash him there. He's our guy. We'll just stash him there for a year.
Place him.
We'll place him, and then he'll be here in a year or two. It's kind of like that.
Andy,
exactly.
Andy, what do you think about the Sweet 16 matchups? Any that pop out at you?
I haven't fully broken them down yet, mainly because we don't have any real Cinderella teams in there. I guess, what do we got? We got 7 from the SEC, 4 from the Big 10, 4 from the Big 12, and then maybe the best team in the country, 1 from the ACC and Duke. So you've got a lot of quality teams in there. Teams that I've liked really throughout, and haven't decided who I'm going to play in the game yet, but I do like this Texas Tech team.
I mean, Andy, what do you mean? What do you mean, Andy? John Calipari's always worn the Cinderella hat, huh? Cinderella Calipari, huh?
If you listen to him, that's right. It's kind of like he's like the Lou Holtz of college basketball. But I've liked this Texas Tech team a lot. I think I saw them at 20-1 right now to win the whole thing, which seems high, but they would have to. Assuming they get through Arkansas, and that's not an easy game, but they would then have to get through most likely Duke and Florida to make it to the championship game. So that could be a very difficult run. But I do like this Texas Tech team, and from a standpoint of competition and competitiveness, I wouldn't mind seeing Texas Tech and Houston play for a third time this year.
I don't, McMillan didn't play the first weekend, and Williams is back for the Red Raiders. They sat them both in that loss in the Big 12 tournament game, that loss to Arizona. But and we got to see about Theoro as well from Arkansas. He was the guy when Flan went down and Arkansas kind of turned their season around. He's their leading scorer. So we still continue to look at those, and we saw it. It finally caught up with it because Gilbert being out. I mean, Iowa State was not the same team with some injuries, but there's some people think that some people think it's gamesmanship by Arkansas. Some people think Texas Tech. No, he's expected to come back, so that would be a big deal, man. A big deal because that's a nice piece, an important couple of pieces.
Yeah, if I'm looking at one underdog that comes to mind right now, it's a team that was playing extremely well throughout most of the season, especially in the early going, and then they came on a bit later. That's BYU getting, about 5.5, 6 points from Alabama when I looked at it yesterday. Alabama still has those defensive issues that they have to be concerned about, and BYU is doing just about everything right. Yeah, they let Wisconsin back in the game late because maybe they let down a little bit, but BYU, I think, has been one of the more underrated teams throughout the season, and for them to make it to the Sweet 16 is quite an accomplishment. But then again, you've got 4 teams in that conference making it into the Sweet 16, so that's one of the underdogs that I'm looking at right now. Don't know about the Duke-Arizona game because that's 9 seems to be right, but I liked what I saw out of Arizona the other day. I thought that was a very low total in the game, and of course they had like 80-something points, I think, at halftime. It ended up being like 170 or something in the game. But I liked what I saw of Arizona falling well behind Oregon in the first 5 minutes of that game, and then coming back, and depending upon when you played it, if you played Arizona, you might have laid a 4. If you played Oregon, you might have gone 4.5 or 5. So that was a very well-played game, and I'd like to think if there's a team certainly on the way to the Final Four, because I think Duke would probably be able to get past Texas Tech or Arkansas. I think that's, if I've got it correctly here.
Caleb Love, that's the story of Caleb Love this year. And, I mean, you don't know. Yeah. He was incredible, and he can be. He had 29 on Sunday night in that comeback where they fell behind immediately 17-4. And, I mean, he's a pro. He's going to score a lot of points, I think, when he gets to the pro. He's got everything, but sometimes he can kind of pull a no-show. So, I mean, he's got a little Carolina in his blood, so against Duke. And but home games, I mean, Newark, New Jersey, that's a quasi-home game. A lot of people up on the East Coast love Duke, so they will certainly have the arena in that game as well. Opening day.
I was going to say, if there's a favorite that I'm looking at, just because they've been so good, you have to like the way Florida's playing. I think that's a little bit of a short number against the Maryland team that was a better team, I think, than a lot of people expected at the start of the season, but I just think there's just too much talent and too much depth on Florida for Maryland to make it a competitive game in the final 5 or 8 minutes.
Real quick, Andy, opening day on Thursday. Any futures that you're looking at in MLB?
I did take a flyer. It wasn't a great price because it's not a secret, but I like Cincinnati to win the National League Central.
I do too.
I took a flyer only because of the fact that we don't know how injuries are going to affect the Dodgers. I took a flyer on San Diego. I like to win the National League West. I forget what I got, like 16-1 or something like that. Probably not going to cash. There might be some opportunities late in the season to do a little bit of hedging, although everyone's conceding it to the Dodgers, and I understand why, but we don't know what's going to happen with the pitching staff as far as all that goes. We already know Mookie Betts was dealing with some illness and everything, but that shouldn't be a factor. It's just very difficult to find anyone else that's worth contending, but I do like the pitching staff, and I do like the offense of the Padres. That's just worth a little bit of a flyer if you're looking for a talented team with a long shot opportunity. And I still think the Phillies are the team to beat in the National League East, even though I like some of the things that both the Mets and the Braves have done.
Follow Andy on Twitter at VegasAndy711. Great stuff as always. Good luck to you this weekend, Andy.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy it, and we'll recap and get the Final Four next Tuesday.
There you go. If your homeowners association requires wood windows, you got to do like I did and call Relief Windows at 288-8138. 288-8138, or you can go to reliefwindows.com, schedule a free quote. Not only do we offer window replacement services unmatched anywhere around the entire Gulf region, we also offer the highest quality products and a range of material options so you can find the best fit for your home. Wood windows, vinyl windows, storm impact windows, all made to help protect against hurricane force winds, extreme South Louisiana heat, and even snow in the winter time. So Relief Windows and reliefwindows.com, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, 288-8138.
Live at Mike Anderson's Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at Lunch with Ott and Yanni from Mike Anderson Seafood on Lee Drive on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Back here at Mike Anderson's Live at Lunch, right here underneath the Oyster Bar. Love this venue where we are right here. You get to see the oysters. You get to smell the char grill coming right off the thing.
That's where I eat every time I come in here.
Nice location here. And the newest the newest acquisition for Shane. his bushwhacker machine.
Oh,
the bushwhacker machine.
You love that thing, huh?
Well, it's closer to summertime.
It is.
You know, when
It is.
Come in here and get your Gulf Coast-inspired bushwhackers here at Mike Anderson's. Yeah. First class, second class, no class when we return for hour number 2, live at Mike Anderson's. Live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch, first class.
I want a seat in first class where I was booked and ticketed over a month ago.
Second class.
No man should be subjected to the indignity of being labeled or treated like a second-class citizen.
And no class.
Life had become like school on Sunday. No class.
I'll tell you what then. Why don't you call me sometime when you have no class?
First class, second class, and no class. Brought to you by Supreme Rice. Buy local with Louisiana-based Supreme Rice since 1936.
And we return here at Mike Anderson Seafood, Wesley at Nicholson, first class. A cool little thing happened in the first round of the NCAA tournament. It might not have been noticed in very many spots, but I thought it was cool. Oregon was playing Liberty in the first game, and Oregon was winning the game by 30. There was inside of a minute to go, and Liberty had sent a guard named J.C. Shire to the scorer's table to check in. J.C. Shire is a walk-on. He's played in 8 games out of 34 for Liberty this season. He's played a total of 40 minutes, all in blowouts. But the referee, Roger Ayers, saw him sitting there. Probably didn't know who he was, but probably figured he's one of these little used reserves. And he saw the clock ticking down, and he knew that there was unlikely to be, because they were dribbling out the clock, that there was unlikely to be another stoppage. And so he made up a phantom wet spot on the floor and blew his whistle and said, no, we got to stop. We got to wipe this water up. There was no water. He wanted to stop the clock to get this kid in the game so he could put his name in the box score, so he could say, I got on the floor in an NCAA tournament game.
The official did that?
The official did that.
That's pretty good.
I thought that was really cool. You know, those kids like J.C. Shire, who I don't know at all, but I know his type, which is the guy that works in practice every day and goes and just wants to be a part of the team. And is not only is he not going to be a star, he's not going to really get any significant playing time, but he goes out there and he practices and he does what he can, and everybody likes him and all that stuff. And you could tell by the reaction on the bench that they appreciated that he had done it. For this referee who has no obligation to do this, and you know, we don't like it when things are staged for records and stuff like that, but this is totally different. This is totally different. This is, I want to reward a kid with 30 seconds that doesn't mean something to anybody in the gym other than him and his teammates and coaches. I thought that was cool. So give the referee a little bit of situational awareness for saying, let's not let the clock run out on this kid without letting him put his name in the box score. So first class, Roger. We get on referees all the time, right? They make mistakes.
Yeah,
good for him. I thought that was
covered up for the coach who couldn't do it earlier. So
yeah, didn't
you got to identify a little bit before 30 seconds that it's over.
Yeah, you're down 32 points at that stage. So good for Roger Ayers and good for J.C. Shire. That's my first class. Second class, good with a chance to be great. What was one of the big worry spots for LSU women's basketball coming down the stretch in the 3 losses that they had in the last 5 games? It was a lack of production from their bench. Well, in the 3 games that they lost, this was Texas, Alabama, and Ole Miss. And against Ole Miss, it was particularly evident because Flau'jae Johnson didn't play in that game at all, and she was more than a little bit compromised in the other 2 games. In the 3 losses, LSU's bench averaged total 40 minutes a game and 6 points. So what has happened in the postseason since then? In the 4 games that they played in the postseason, the 2 in the SEC tournament, the 2 in the NCAA tournament, they have averaged 75 minutes and 25 points a game. Now let me be fair about this. There was ample opportunities to get reserves into the game after the issue had been decided against San Diego State. There was ample opportunities in the fourth quarter of yesterday's game when it had gotten away from them against Florida State to get reserves in the game. And they also beat Florida in the SEC tournament and they were able to get some players in there. But this also includes some significant minutes. They needed some bench minutes in the first half yesterday when Williams and Johnson were in foul trouble, and they got them. They needed some bench minutes in the third and fourth quarters when against Texas when Johnson was out and Morrow went down with the injury, and they got them. So if they can continue to get some quality minutes out of the bench, and look, competition stepping up, you're going. It doesn't do anything but get harder. There's not a 12-seed Cinderella out there waiting for you to play. It's only going to get tougher. But they have stepped up in the last 4 games. If they can continue to do that, it's going to give LSU that much better of a chance in the round of 16 and beyond. If they can continue to do that, so good. They have been better in the last 4 games. Chance to be great. Chance to help them. We brought up Carson in the championship game in 2023. Hey, they needed somebody to step up and make some shots. She came out and she made shots. LSU's going to need a little help from somebody other than the big 3 to advance as deep as they want to go. Let's see if it happens. So far, they've done a decent job here in the last 4 games. So good with a chance to be great. LSU's bench in the NCAA tournament. No class. Jimmy, we've been so wrapped up in basketball for the last 2 weeks that we have not paid enough attention to the Saints free agent signing.
Oh, come on, man.
I have not gotten a chance to complain about this yet.
Not again.
No, I have
not again.
This is fresh information.
Oh,
this is fresh information. They have created
Mickey Loomis.
They've created cap space. Notice that cap's not really a problem.
Loomis announced he's done.
No.
Okay.
I didn't put him in.
I
didn't put him in first class.
I'm not dead yet.
I didn't put him in first class. We can always create cap space. These cap numbers, they're not really a problem. We can go out and we can sign guys every year, and they did. They've gone out and they've signed some guys. In fact, they went out and signed Jawan Johnson to a $10 million a year contract, which he is worth in no football league that I am familiar with. They went out and they signed yesterday Dylan Radnews, who was a starter for who? Tennessee Titans. They were the worst team in the league last year? They were. Did he start for them? He did. Did he give up 6 sacks from an interior offensive line position? He did. That's who you got that you can go and sign. And, yes, they signed Chase Young. Probably overpaid him a little bit, but at least he's 25 years old. Yes, they signed Devon Gottschall. Still a good player, but, a little bit older. Yes, they signed Justin Reed. Not sure that's where they, need to put a huge amount of money, but is Reed a good player? Yes, he is. But yesterday's, or this was, I guess they did this Sunday, but this one really, it really takes the cake. They signed Brandon Cooks to a 2-year contract for $13 million. I haven't figured out exactly how they're going to account for this yet, but I'm sure that some of this money will be shoved into next year. In Brandon Cooks, you get everything you want in a free agent. You get somebody who is aging. You get somebody who is in decline. You get somebody who is coming off of an injury. You get somebody who is a known malcontent in the league. And you don't even get him on a 1-year prove-it contract. You manage to spend a little bit and it's not a gazillion dollars, but it's fairly expensive for somebody who had 259 yards receiving last year. Brandon Cooks, who when he was coming out of Oregon State, Jimmy, I don't know if you remember this show. We were doing Derek was still with us at the time. We were doing a show. We were trying to predict who the Saints were going to take. I said, I hope the Saints take Brandon Cooks. This guy's a really good receiver, and he was a really good receiver. He's been a really good receiver in the NFL. He had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons for the Saints, and they traded him. He went to New England, where he had a 1,000-yard season, and they traded him. He went to the Rams, where he had a 1,000-yard season, and they traded him. Then he went to Houston, where he had 2,000-yard seasons, and they traded him. And why? Because Brandon Cooks is a mess in the locker room. But he used to be good. Now he's just about to be 32-year-old receiver who has declined in his production each of the last 4 years in catches and in yards. So what you want to do is you want to bring in he'll be 32 in September, 32-year-old, malcontent, aging, injured, expensive, at least I think is expensive for the production you're getting out of him, receiver. He checks every box. You get it all with Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks was somebody in 2014 that I was really excited to see join the Saints. And for 2 years was, a really, really dynamic receiver for the Saints. When Breeze was there throwing the football, man, look, he was 25 years old. Brandon Cooks was great on the field. Off the field, not so much. Now I'll give you the coup de grace. What did Brandon Cooks say about Derek Carr when he got signed? Derek Carr is a great leader, said Brandon Cooks and probably Derek Carr's immediate family, and that's about it. So now he's trying to be a better teammate, but he's saying that about Derek Carr, who everybody, well, not everybody else, but the fan base can't stand right now. He can't win for losing.
Even Sean Payton missed on Brandon Cooks because if you remember the first game he ever played, he was trying to use him like Reggie Bush. And, I think
he wasn't that.
Calls him his jokers. We know he can bust it in straight ahead speed, but he had no hips, he had no shake, and just remember they had returning punts.
For a very short period of time, I thought he would return punts. He was not good at that.
In the first game he ever played, they had him returning punts. Yeah. They had him running screens. They run end rounds. I mean, you name it. They thought he was Reggie Bush, and he's not. No, completely straight ahead speed is what he has. Very productive. That's why he's very productive at Oregon State.
He was. He's had 6,000-yard receiving seasons in the NFL. It's not like the guy can't play,
but he's limited too.
He's not ever been a very versatile guy. You're right. Most of what he's done has been down the field stuff, but there's been a spot for that. But it's telling. The receiving position has some of this. That he was productive at 4 different spots. And I'm not counting Dallas. I'm counting, where
New England, the Rams, who else?
The Patriots. The Texans, and the Saints.
New England, Rams.
So 4 different teams that he had 1,000-yard receiving yards for, some of them multiple 1,000-yard receiving for, and they all got rid of him.
Yeah, we know. We've discussed this before.
Yeah, but they just signed him yesterday.
I know.
This is back to the future, man.
Who's overseeing these moves?
The same guy. Same guy.
Let me know when he's going.
I haven't had a chance to address this with all the basketball.
You're a compromised organization. You allow people.
Hence the category. Okay.
Yeah, no class, but it's been no class for a long time. Sucks. Muscale, wake the hell up. He's got to go. Period. I mean, you're not going to get any better. Why are you trying to be 7-10 next year, 8-9 max? What you want to win the week South and get blasted in one game?
And those win totals based on a fourth place schedule, because if they had a third place schedule, I think you'd probably knock their win total down by about 2.
I think the win total will be lower than that, but I'm saying that's kind of like the ceiling.
Yeah, and if they were playing the third place schedule, it'd be whatever it ends up being. My guess is it's probably somewhere around 7, 6.5, 7.
Yeah.
If they were playing the other schedule, it'd probably be 2 games lower than that.
They're not going to put win totals out before the draft. I mean,
okay, but what do you think? If you had to set a win total for the Saints right now, what would it be?
6.5.
Yeah, that's about what it'd be for me, 6.5 or 7.
That's pretty bad.
And if it were against the Panthers' schedule instead of what they got, I'd probably have it at 5.5.
You don't think the fan base shares the same opinion as Derek Carr's leadership?
I do not.
No, I'll tell you what. I think they're hard on him. Like, I mean, he's not great, but I've seen way worse that they hate a lot less.
Is he better?
I grew up there. I just can't. I mean, they hate this guy.
Is he a lot better than Andy Dalton? A lot better than Andy Dalton?
No.
Is he a lot better than Teddy Bridgewater?
No.
They love both of those guys. Okay, he's better than
those.
He's better than both of those guys.
Better than those
guys.
He's
better. He's better than Jameis.
But the fans love him.
Yeah, the fans love Jameis, okay? They love Jameis. They love Teddy. I don't know if they loved Andy Dalton, but they liked him enough, okay? They hate this guy for whatever. Take your pick. Time in Oakland, contract, sideline demeanor with McCoy. Take your pick, but ask your friend Holomeo. Exactly. You don't have to ask. I know.
I'll listen. I'll listen to stuff. That's part of the pulse that I get is these guys, and I know it's kind of like they're kind of calling that format just it's blast away. I get that, but I mean they can't stand this guy.
I want a Saints move that I can really get behind. Like that makes a lot of sense. The 9th pick in the draft, there's a bunch of guys that they can take.
Front
like
office
that one,
is
that makes sense.
Incapable of it.
They can't make one good pick. They can't make one good pick. I just want give me something.
They can, Charlie, but you can't. Are they going to be able to be a real contender with Mickey Loomis?
No,
there's no chance.
Never.
Okay,
not a contender.
So
no.
all of these moves go against your master plan, which you thought was in the best interest of the Saints, right?
Yeah, yes.
Right. Because
I'm not alone in that opinion, by the way.
That's common.
Yeah.
People that have removed their emotion from the team. No, I agree with that, and that's sort of the logical approach. But so he brought in a young coach, who's going to just agree with everything he did. This is not a guy that has job security and says, let's look a year or two down the line where we can really have a chance, and these are the steps that needs to be taken. Now, this is not that at all. You just drop. Here we go again. Where are they going to be at the end of this this offseason? They're going to be last in cap space again?
Sure.
I mean,
It's by design. It's by design.
Well,
they think they're putting one over on the rest of the league. Didn't you hear? Like we're doing these cap gymnastics, and we're paying for these contracts with 10-cent dollars because of the increases of the cap.
I need to go deep in the first, second, no class archives and see, if we're going for a record here in terms of no class.
It's such low-hanging fruit that I try not to do it too often. It's Brandon Cooks is new information,
right?
Okay, I mean this is if they wouldn't have signed him, I'm not gonna jump off on
that's
rad
the details.
news. Okay,
Loomis sucks. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
No class. But here's more. Here's another incident. Why? More updated one. So.
New information.
I mean, nobody. And who the scales fine. Raise ticket prices.
They did that too.
She is, and guess what? And the fan base is not going to give up their tickets. They want to go to the games. They enjoy going to games. They're emotionally invested in their Saints, and
God bless, because if they weren't, they'd be the San Antonio Saints today.
I've always said. I mean, but we're going back in time. We're going back to Drew Brees time. They were so poorly run that the Saints fan base was such good fans, but they just weren't real smart because you're enabling this poor leadership and this poorly run operation up. Because once we don't have a waiting list anymore. Oh wait, we have some blackouts. Oh wait a minute, how many teams have blackouts these days in the NFL?
It's almost extinct. The policy should have been extinct a long time ago.
Okay, but I mean, you don't have any pushback by your fans, so you're enabling this horse crap.
Yet we do think that she was paying attention one day. Well, of her entire tenure, we thought she was paying. At least I did. She was paying attention one day, and that one day
she made him fire.
She made Loomis do something he didn't want to do. It's the only time she's ever made him make a move that he didn't want to make. She made him fire Dennis Allen because they had lost to Carolina, who at the time was thought of as the worst team in the league, and they got embarrassed. And don't discount this portion of it as much. They had 3 home games in a row coming up.
Okay.
So she knew that the Dome was going to be absolutely a poisonous atmosphere if he was the coach for those 3 games. And so they brought Rizzi in to be the interim coach for those 3 games. Other than that, she's let Loomis do.
There's a portion of the fan base that wanted Rizzi to have the job. Jeez. Wow.
He's a very nice special teams coach, but come on, that's not what's going to. I would like to get excited about Kellen Moore, but I don't.
He doesn't have a chance.
Yeah, he's trying to play Boo-Ray without no trumps, man. You can't.
That's
can't,
hard.
It's very hard to win at Boo-Ray if you ain't got any trumps. If you ain't got any trump cards, man, it's tough to do. First Class, Second Class, No Class brought to you by Supreme Rice and SupremeRice.com. Man, we got the spring weather. It's absolutely gorgeous. You're going out tailgating for baseball or for softball. You got a very, very highly ranked top 5 softball team out there at LSU. You're going out tailgating, making your jambalayas, making your etouffees, whatever you're making with rice. Make it with Supreme Rice. Support our Louisiana farmers down in Crowley, Louisiana, southwest Louisiana since the 1930s. Or if you like Jimmy Ott, you cook the parboiled rice at home
best.
Because every Monday at the Ott household,
Yes.
the parboiled rice.
Beans, white or red beans. Do a little chicken, do a little pork chops, do a little, something like that. Sometimes a little fish.
And, of course, they are part of the Climate Smart program, making sure that future generations of rice farmers here in Louisiana have the same benefits. They're reducing methane emissions. They're promoting water conservation. For more information, great recipes, go to SupremeRice.com. Take a break here live at Mike Anderson's Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Yanni from Mike Anderson Seafood on Lee Drive on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Back here at Mike Anderson's Live at Lunch right here in the Oyster Bar, here in the front part of the bar here in the restaurant. You know, for First Class, Second Class, No Class, we like to have some fun with this segment. Try not to repeat too much, things that we've gone over in the past, like the Saints or whatever. But sometimes you just get the gift that keeps on giving. There's a reason that there are people that are in no class more than once, okay, because they keep doing the same BS over and over again. So you notice, Jimmy, on my little notes here, I wrote down Dan Hurley, but I figured we had covered that ground too. But like with the Saints, there's new information with Dan Hurley.
First class for having his team ready to play and given maybe the most talented team all they could handle. 38 minutes into the game.
Yeah, that would have been.
Or, him having to curse and act like a baby, and then his SID threatening the life of the Charlotte reporter who posted it up.
Now, I missed this story, so you're going to, for those that don't know this story.
You saw the video.
I saw the video of him, but I didn't know about the SID threatening the reporter. So
that's it. That's the end of it.
Okay.
I mean,
for those that didn't see the video.
If you don't take it down, I'm going to ruin your life. The UConn basketball SID.
And this is something that Hurley did in full, not behind, in a private setting. This is something that he did out in full view of everybody, right?
It was not in the interview room.
Yeah.
But the other team was waiting to come in, and they were in the shoot, and
right.
they were leaving.
You're in a public spot where anybody can film.
You think it's fair game for somebody to run a video there?
I think if you are a public figure in a public place, yes, I think it's fair game.
I mean, there's video of Chris Webber, underneath the Superdome when he called the timeout with no timeouts.
Yeah, and
see how he was handling it.
I remember that video, and he went to the guy and goes, "What, you never seen a bleepity bleep cry?" I was willing to cut 19-year-old Chris Webber in the most significant basketball moment of his life a little bit of time to cool off and let the emotions fade. Dan Hurley is an adult. He is a coach. He is a very public figure. He knows exactly where he is, and this is not exactly the most emotional moment of his basketball life. I will cut Chris Webber at 19 years old a lot of slack.
He is an adult in age only.
Well,
he is far from an adult.
That's fair enough.
I mean, we've seen enough of this. I
Yeah.
mean, whether it's and what he doesn't understand, it's counterproductive. I mean, man, the official, would you wear me out 1 minute into the game?
Yeah.
Man, kiss my butt, dude. I'm going to hammer you.
And Dan Hurley,
you want to draw the line like that?
It's not Dan Hurley. Like Dan Hurley doesn't know he's being filmed when he does stuff like this. He invites it. I mean, going back to the "Hey Baldy" comment from back in the middle of the season. Okay, he is going out of his way to draw attention to himself. You know, hey, I got 2 rings. Okay, well, with 2 rings goes a little bit of responsibility to conduct yourself. Or if you don't care, like Bobby Knight didn't care. Okay, Bobby Knight would go out and cuss the media guys with all of the cameras rolling, with all the recorders rolling, and he didn't care. Okay, he was fitted for the villain's hat, and he was perfectly comfortable with that. So if you're going to, hey, own it. Kit Kinglehofer was the SID at Indiana for 25, 30 years, okay? That was his life every day. He had to deal with Knight, okay? Knight was like, I don't care. Okay, if these guys, what they say about me, what they think about me, nothing. Mm-hmm. If I do it, it's fair game. Now, if they criticize me for something that's not accurate, well, I can get on them for that. I remember his press conference against Cleveland State. They said, "Hey, Cleveland State, what do you think of them?" He goes, "Nobody thinks they've got any chance." He goes, "Well, if anybody who thinks Cleveland State doesn't have a chance doesn't know much about basketball." And the reporter asked the Cleveland State coach, "Hey, you know, Bobby Knight was just in here and he said nobody at Cleveland State knows anything about basketball." Well, that's not fair. That's not what Knight said. Okay? But he was willing to be fitted with the black hat. You can't come back and then cry foul after you act like that. You can't have your SID go cry foul after you've acted like that. You have done that to draw attention to yourself, and now it's not. Maybe you think, oh, maybe I went a little bit too far this time. No. You know. If you're Dan Hurley, and you're in the arena, and you're not in the locker room by yourself or with your team, somebody's got some eyeballs on you. So act accordingly or deal with the consequences. That's my take on it anyway.
I mean, does he want – how many times of those 13 straight tournament wins was everybody saying, man, the UConn's opponent just got screwed? I mean, they got screwed.
I don't remember any.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, come on, man. I mean, you know.
There's a difference between working the officials, which every good college basketball coach does, and acting like a complete child, which is what he has done.
No, yes. Common conduct for basketball coaches during the game. We know that they get after the officials a little bit more. They're working the officials, but no, they just – is more. No, his behavior on the court is not common, and then he's making contact and making physical contact with opposing players. Like he did with Zach Edey, the championship. Mm-hmm. But that's on the officials too, dude. You got to ring him up. You can't. He cannot do that. You can't do that, man. And so don't let him bully you. Don't let him bully you.
You know how long this stuff is?
You don't want to be in the biggest stage, but he cannot make contact with an opposing player.
You know how long this stuff is tolerated when you are winning at the highest level. Knight was tolerated when he was winning the highest level, and then when he wasn't anymore,
he's been the best coach in college basketball.
Yeah,
the last few years, the best coach.
You better win at that level, or your conduct isn't quite as cute to your bosses.
That's right. You would tolerate more from a winning product.
And Knight is an absolute, polarizing example of that. He got away with a lot of stuff as long as he was winning national championships. Later on, his conduct became a lot less forgiving.
If Belichick treats the boosters in North Carolina like he did the media in New England, he ain't going to have anybody. He's not going to have a winner.
It'll be hard. No,
it'll be very hard.
Unless he gets Kraft to donate a bunch of money, and I don't think those two are exactly on.
No.
Speaking
it's the same thing. And I mean, what he pulled when he finally lost to the Colts in the AFC Championship, he wouldn't shake Dungy's hand.
Yeah, it's BS.
It's just bull.
It's BS.
And so when these things come out, there was some uncomfortable discomfort. There was some unrest. That Brady says about. Of course, there was.
I told you yesterday, I went from 2 years ago being very neutral on Dan Hurley to last year being, hey, man, what are you doing? To now, my God, I'm going out of my way to root against you.
I'm going out of my way. Now, the tough part is, you got to, if you're going to bet on it, you got to put the emotion aside.
I can do that.
And
I bet on Alabama
and he
before.
understands. And I mean,
did I say that out loud?
And it was but what he does is he ruins. He upstages his own accomplishments because he had the inferior roster in this matchup, and man, he went toe to toe with them the whole time. And Clayton just hits him. That's why you didn't lose because you got screwed by the officials. Okay, effed by the officials. You screwed because maybe the best player on the floor made some really big clutch shots, game-winning shots at the biggest time. Did he not?
And Hurley said that very plainly. We made Nelson make those two shots. Those were NBA level shots, off the dribble, long range, and he made them.
And I didn't even hear that because I got
correct.
This is all we have.
Yeah.
But you allowed that. You allowed that. So I mean, we want to talk about the games. There's no doubt. That's all we want to talk about. They were really, and this is where maybe he's got an advantage over Golden, because boom, all right, you win on Friday, you got Saturday, you got Saturday to prepare Sunday. Well, who you think's going to be? Who's got the better method?
The guy who's done
the
this,
better.
Yeah. The guy who's done this multiple times.
Ain't no doubt. You got that one off day to get your team prepared and to break down. Yes. No. And he just, you don't want to do it because you want to talk about just how big of an a-hole he is. And he goes out of his way. He
ain't going to be there next weekend. That's all right by me.
Don't forget Total Maintenance, one of South Louisiana's oldest and largest AC and heating companies since 1980. Starting to get those air conditioners cranked up. Now is the time to call and get your one-time AC check. Again, normally $179. It's just $79 if you tell them you heard about it right here on Live at Lunch. Jimmy Ott, Charles Hanegraaff, mention our name. It's normally $179. It's just $79. It's going to extend the lifetime of your unit. It's going to lower your monthly bills, going to allow your unit to operate more efficiently when we really stress these units during these long, hot summer months over here in South Louisiana. And also, if we feel like a part, man, this ain't going to make it through the tough part in the summer, we're going to replace it and get you ready for where you're prepared. That way, when it's really hot and it breaks down, it's even more inconvenient. No. Now's the time. It's only $79. $79. Call Total Maintenance today, 480-1000, 480-1000. We are Total Maintenance.
Live at Mike Anderson's Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at Lunch.
The Thibodaux Store, 900 St. Patrick Highway in Thibodaux. Time to get the lawn, the garden, the flower beds in shape here as we're into spring. Right now, the Scott's 4-step lawn fertilizer programs are $90 off on the website at doitbest.com/Thibodaux Store. And tons of other lawn and garden items right now on special. The 600-pound garden carts are on special right now. The Scott's turf builders as well as the fertilizer are on special. Hoses up to 40% off. Lots of your seeders and spreaders, outdoor power equipment, potting and topsoils, grass and weed control, all of them available right now at the Thibodaux Store and on the website. Many of these items available for delivery at no cost. And once you get the yard up and running, you want those grills so you can enjoy your outdoor patio areas. Huge selection of grills at the Thibodaux Store, including the big green egg cookers for your ultimate cooking experience. 900 St. Patrick Highway in Thibodaux. Online, it's doitbest.com/Thibodaux Store.
Live at Lunch with Ott and Yanni from Mike Anderson Seafood on Lee Drive on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
And we return here at Mike Anderson Seafood. Wesley at Nicholson. We're also brought to you in part by Coastal Capital Advisors, your full-service financial planners when it comes to retirement. No two situations are alike, so let Coastal Capital Advisors work with you. It doesn't matter what portion of your life you're in, no matter what your age, what is your financial situation, they're going to build a plan, a lifetime plan that is what is best for you and your family. They'll work with your business partners. They'll work with the tax professionals that you need to make sure all of your goals are achieved. evening, and I can tell you for sure because that's what they have done for me. For more information, contact Phil Fondo and his staff, 337-981-1376. Online, coastalcapitaladv.com. Advisory services provided by New Age Advisors, member FINRA, SIPC. What season is it? Well, it's springtime. It's baseball season, but it's also
March Madness season.
March Madness season and transfer portal season.
Why is this not at the end of March Madness?
What's that now?
Why is this not at the end of the tournament?
Because outside of the 16 teams that are still playing, everybody else wants to get on with their lives and get on to next year. I'm with you.
But the 16 teams that are involved in the biggest games of the season,
I am with you 100% on this. I feel the same way about football. These teams are trying to deal with the transfer portal while they're also preparing for playoff games. I'm completely with you. But at least for the moment, and there's been a big push to move that, but at least for the moment, that's not the way it works. So last year, 300 names went in the portal on day one. Day one was yesterday. All right. What is the number yesterday? Last year, 300. What about yesterday? A year later.
400.
Up.
500.
Higher.
600.
Higher.
7.
Higher.
8.
750.
Wow.
2.5 times what was last year. I feel like we're on Price is Right again. We're playing the clock game. Higher, 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 higher. 226 players were already in the portal because of a coaching change or as a graduate transfer, so the portal window doesn't apply to those. So you have 1,000 names in the portal right now. We've been at this for a little over 24 hours. ESPN, which this is very nice of them, put a list of the top 25 guys. And I'm not mentioning these with LSU or whatever. I don't know where these guys will end up. The top player in the portal, according to ESPN, as of right now, is Bryce Hopkins, 6'7", senior forward out of Providence, who has been out basically a good bit of the last 2 years because of injuries, but 2 years ago was an all-Big East guy at 15.5 points, 8 rebounds a game. Top two players at Iowa. They made a coaching change, obviously. They could get these guys back. The 6'10 big, Owen Freeman. The 6'6 shooting guard, Josh Dix. Indiana made a coaching change. Malik Rianu is their top player in the portal. He's number 4. Virginia made a coaching change. Isaac McNeely, he's in the transfer portal. Who else on this list? Dalen Swain, Xavier, just lost their coach to Texas. I would imagine Swain, if he doesn't put himself into the NBA draft, will be, I don't know if he's going to go down to Texas with his coach or not. I was thinking about Connect when I saw the guy at East Tennessee State, former Tennessee player, came out of Northern Colorado. East Tennessee State's got a top 15 guy. I did notice one thing, though. Out of the top 25 guys in the transfer portal, none of them are in the SEC. I don't know what that means. If 7 of the teams in the SEC are still playing, I guess, so those guys wouldn't be in the transfer portal, and a lot of those other guys, they want to stay in the SEC. We'll see.
I like how we get like a little updates. Oh, so and so is entered. No, this is just flip. Let me know who's staying. That's noteworthy.
You mean at LSU?
Yeah. Everywhere.
Oh,
everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, more players leave, get in the transfer portal than stay. We're at that number, right?
Outside of the top two, outside of the two mega conferences, the Big Ten and the SEC.
So this is the first day. How many last year ended up in the transfer portal?
Last year's total when the portal closed was 2,100.
2,100.
Yeah. So roughly twice what we've got in there on the very first day this year. Mm-hmm. You got till April of 22nd, so you got a month of this. Although I would imagine that most of the players that are going in the transfer portal are going to do it this week and not wait. The only guys that are going to wait around are the ones that are on teams that are still playing. You get reserves off of some of these Sweet 16 benches. So menus out there. Go to work.
Who was it? Lost their backup quarterback. Penn State lost their backup quarterback last year, right?
During the portal.
Where did he end up?
The playoffs. Oh gosh, I know this one. Max, look it up for me. It was another big school. It wasn't. He didn't move down. Backup quarterback at Penn State. I'm trying to remember. West Virginia. That may not be right, but yes, he ended up at another power conference. Another power conference school.
Bo Perbula's now at Missouri.
Missouri, not West Virginia. Okay, so yeah, he ended up at another big school. But
wow,
you got all these guys out there. So you wanna go shopping?
What was the game, Max? It was Wisconsin, right? That he that the starter couldn't go in the second half, and that he led them. I think he threw for one and ran for one, but and they were losing at half, and I think it was at Wisconsin. It was right before maybe Ohio State or the Michigan game.
He had a nice game.
I mean, they lose that, they probably don't get into the playoff.
Yeah, he was 11 of 13, 98 yards against.
And who's the starting quarterback for Penn State? He's coming back.
Drew Aller.
Is he? He's the first on the NFL boards. Is that what y'all are telling me?
He's up there.
He's up there, huh?
They like the measurables, man. They like the measurables.
He got a little improving to do.
No argument.
It should get better. You should get better.
Yeah.
But that was year 2. It should have been a bigger step of development than what we saw in year 2.
At the beginning of the year, I thought he was going in that direction. By the end of the year,
I thought the West Virginia game, but we realized that West Virginia going into Morgantown wasn't as tough. They fired Neil Brown. Did they fire Neil Brown?
Yes, they did.
Yeah. He didn't make
Drew Aller, third choice to win the Heisman Trophy at 10-1.
Behind Nussmeier and
man. Okay, you watch Nussmeier play and you watch
Arch
Drew
Manning.
Aller play.
Arch Manning.
I mean, come on, man. Ain't no comparison to those guys.
Give me Lenore Sellers before you give me
22-1
to win the Heisman before you give me him.
9th choice, Lenore Sellers.
No way. Aller wins the national wins a Heisman. Not with what they run and not how he's a good player, but not nearly what he's hyped up to be. Sellers,
you think he's a good player? You thought he was good this year?
I think he's a good college player.
You do?
Okay. Nothing over the top. I think he's a good. I don't think he's terrible. I think he's good. Is he great? Not even close. I'd take Lenore Sellers to win the Heisman way over him. And it's not because Penn State is not going to be better than South Carolina, but Sellers is a dynamic guy.
Aller will be without Tyler Warren next year. That's a big
Tyler
loss.
Warren, who will not get past the Indianapolis Colts at 14. May not get past the Saints at 9. Who knows?
Don't forget our friends at K&M Automotive. It's the only place I take my vehicle on Segan and Perkins across Segan from Ambrosia Bakery. That engine light comes on. You don't know what's going on. Bring it over to see Jason Payne over at K&M. And why, Jason? He's got a lot of repeat business. So even if he's too busy at that time, he'll give you a more convenient time to bring back your unit. Now, he's going to evaluate it immediately. But belts and hoses, general services, undercar service, electric AC service, transmission, tires, electrical, anything under the hood that you may need. Domestic vehicles, take it over to K&M Automotive, 8445 Segan Lane, Segan and Perkins, across from Ambrosia Bakery. 7:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday, the only place I'll take my vehicle, K&M Automotive.
Live at Mike Anderson's Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Yanni from Mike Anderson Seafood on Lee Drive on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Heading out to see LSU baseball tonight. Raging Cajuns in town against LSU at 6:30 tonight. Come on, stop by here at Mike Anderson's before you head to the box. Cajuns off to a rocky start. They're 11-14. LSU trying to shake off a couple of losses to Texas before. It's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday series this week with Mississippi State at the box. Mike Anderson's a great place to come before or after the games coming up tonight or this weekend. Also got NIT action tonight. Oklahoma State and North Texas, Bradley, Chattanooga. You like Bradley a little bit?
Yeah, I like them so much I thought they were playing last night.
Okay. Bradley taking on Chattanooga. That's a 6 o'clock start. The 8 o'clock game is Oklahoma State and North Texas. Bradley about a 3.5-point favorite. Oklahoma State 1.5. I was looking ahead.
Oklahoma State has played better, man. In the second half of the season, they were really bad this year, but They have, they had won like 7 in a row at home at one point. And they had a nice win on the road. They went to they won at SMU. Over the weekend to get to this point in NIT.
They were 13-3 at home this season, which is where they are tonight. So pretty good, and they lost some good teams like Texas Tech, one of the teams that they lost to. Thanks to everybody for participating. Tomorrow we are at Roca Pizzeria. For Max, for Jimmy, for Jordan back in the studio, I'm Charles Hanniger saying thank you and good afternoon from Mike Anderson, Seafood Wesley at Nicholson. This has been Live at Lunch. Stay tuned for Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.